A 97-year-old woman in Okinawa kneels in her garden and pulls purple sweet potatoes from the ground. She stands up without using her hands. She carries a basket weighing 11 b and walks 100 meters to her kitchen. She does this every morning. She ate 382 g of carbohydrates yesterday. That's the equivalent of 12 slices of bread. Her BMI is 21, the same BMI she had at 30. Robert is 68. He lives in Houston. He's been on a strict low-carb diet for 3 years, 45 grams of carbs per day. He uses a cane to stand up from his chair. He takes 4 medications. He's gained 15 lbs since he started the diet. Same age group, opposite diets, opposite results. How is that possible? The Okinawa centenarian study started in 1975. Researchers examined over 1,000 people who lived past 100. They measured everything: blood markers, bone density, muscle mass, daily calorie intake. They found that Okinawans have 40 to 50 centenarians per 100,000 people. In the United States, it's 10 to 20. The gap isn't small. Here's what you're going to learn in the next 20 minutes. 3 biological mechanisms that let Okinawans eat massive amounts of carbohydrates without gaining weight after 60. The single biggest mistake Westerners make when they try to lose weight at that age. And a 3-tier protocol you can start using tomorrow. At the end, I'll tell you the one ingredient that no dietitian mentions, the thing that makes all of this work. But first, you need to understand why everything you've been told about carbohydrates after 60 is backwards. You've been told that your metabolism slows down as you age. That's true. You've been told that means you need to cut carbohydrates. That's where it falls apart. 1 in 3 Americans over 60 follow some form of low-carb diet under 50 grams of carbs per day. They lose weight in the first month, then something breaks. They gain it all back, usually more. Here's why. After 30, you lose 3 to 8% of your muscle mass every decade. By 60, you're not trying to burn fat anymore. You're trying to preserve muscle. Low-carb diets combined with low activity don't just burn fat, they burn muscle first. You lose 8 lbs in the first month. 5 of those pounds are muscle, 3 are fat. Your basal metabolic rate drops by 250 calories per day. Now you're gaining fat on fewer calories than before. The cycle repeats. Okinawans never counted a carb in their lives. They ate 10 times more carbohydrates than the average keto dieter, and they stayed lean until they died. The reason isn't what you were told. It's not genetics. It's not because they live on an island. Japanese Americans who move to Hawaii and keep the Okinawan diet live just as long. The ones who switch to a Western diet lose the advantage in 1 generation. The mechanism has 3 parts. I'll walk you through them one at a time. By minute 14, you'll understand why the method of cooking changes everything. By minute 17, you'll see why a 10.1 ratio reverses aging at the cellular level. And by minute 19, I'll tell you the missing piece that makes it all work. Let's start with the first part. Caloric restriction without malnutrition. Traditional Okinawans ate 1,785 calories per day. Their bodies needed 2,003. That's a deficit of 218 calories, about 11% fewer calories than required. But they weren't starving. They weren't hungry. They ate until they were satisfied. How? The secret is caloric density. A purple sweet potato has 1 calorie per gram. White bread has 2.7 calories per gram. You can eat 3 times the volume of sweet potatoes and still consume fewer calories than a small portion of bread. Okinawans ate 849 grams of sweet potatoes every single day. That's almost 200 b of food. It filled their plates, it filled their stomachs. But it only gave them 849 calories. Compare that to a typical American breakfast. 2 slices of toast, butter, and scrambled eggs. About 315 grams of food, around 600 calories. Less food, more calories. You finish that meal and you're still hungry 2 hours later. Okinawans have a phrase for this: hara hachi bu. Eat until you're 80% full. But here's the trick. When your food has low caloric density, 80% full feels like complete satiety. Your stomach is physically full. The stretch receptors send the signal to your brain. You stop eating, not because you're using willpower, because you're actually satisfied. This isn't folklore. A 2007 study by Wilcox and colleagues published in the Annals of the New York Academy of Sciences measured this. Okinawans maintained a BMI of 21.2 from age 30 to age 75. Almost no weight gain across 45 years. Americans gain an average of 30 LEBs in that same period. So that's the foundation. Tier 1 of the protocol, high volume, low density carbohydrates. 2 to 3 medium sweet potatoes per day, around 400 to 600 grams. Add 1 cup of brown rice or quinoa. Unlimited vegetables. Total carbohydrates 250 to 300 grams per day. That's 60 to 65% of your calories. Protein stays at 60 to 80 grams. Tofu, tempeh, white fish, 2 to 3 times per week. Total daily intake 600 to 1,800 calories. You eat more food than you're eating now. You consume fewer calories. You feel full. No willpower required. Here's a test you can do right now. Stand up. Sit back down. Did you use your hands to push off the chair? If you did, you've already lost some of the muscle mass you need to preserve. Okinawan elders sit on the floor. They get up from the floor 30 times a day, no hands. That constant low-level resistance preserves leg strength. You don't need to sit on the floor, but you do need to move. We'll come back to that. The first mechanism is about eating enough food to feel full while staying in a slight caloric deficit. That gets you 30% of the way there. The second mechanism is where it gets counterintuitive. Insulin sensitivity. Okinawans ate 382 grams of carbohydrates every day. That's more carbs than most people eat in 3 days. And yet their fasting insulin levels were lower than Americans on strict low-carb diets. Centenarians in Okinawa had twice the insulin sensitivity of the average 75-year-old in the West. How is that possible? It's not the carbohydrates, it's how you cook them. A boiled sweet potato has a glycemic index of 46. That's low. Lower than an apple. A baked sweet potato has a glycemic index of 94. That's as high as a can of Coca-Cola. Same food, different cooking method, completely different effect on your blood sugar. When you boil a sweet potato for 30 minutes or more, something happens at the molecular level. The starch molecules form a structure called resistant starch. It survives digestion in your small intestine. It travels to your colon. Bacteria in your colon ferment it. That fermentation produces butyrate. Butyrate is a short-chain fatty acid. It improves insulin sensitivity. It reduces inflammation. It signals your cells to burn fat instead of storing it. Baking breaks down that resistant starch. The sugar absorbs quickly. Your blood glucose spikes. Your pancreas releases insulin. The insulin tells your cells to store fat. You get the same carbohydrates. You get the opposite metabolic effect. This isn't theory. A 2016 study published in Cell Metabolism by Lutri and colleagues tested this exact mechanism in controlled experiments. The group that ate high-carb, low-protein diets with resistant starch had better glucose control than the low-carb group. They also lived longer. So here's tier 2 of the protocol. If you're moderately active, if you're walking 30 minutes a day, you can increase your carbohydrate intake to 300 to 350 grams. That's 3 to 4 sweet potatoes, always boiled, never baked. Add 1 and 1/2 cups of whole grains. Add legumes once per day, black beans, lentils, chickpeas. Your protein goes up slightly, 70 to 90 grams. Add edamame. Drink miso soup every day. Total intake 1,800 to 2,000 calories. The preparation is critical. Boil your sweet potatoes on Sunday. Boil 10 of them, 30 minutes minimum. Let them cool, refrigerate them, reheat them throughout the week. Cooling them after cooking increases the resistant starch even more. It's a double benefit. Here's what most people get wrong. They hear high carb and they think pasta, bread, rice cakes, refined carbohydrates. Those spike your blood sugar just like baked sweet potatoes. You're not replacing one form of sugar with another. You're replacing high-density, high-glycemic foods with low-density, low-glycemic foods that happen to be mostly carbohydrates. At this point, you understand 60% of the system. You know how to eat high-volume, low-calorie foods. You know how to prepare them so they don't spike your insulin. But there's a third part, and this is the one that surprises people the most, the 10.1 ratio. Okinawans ate 382 grams of carbohydrates per day. They ate 39 grams of protein. That's a ratio of 10 grams of carbs for every 1 g of protein. That ratio shows up everywhere in longevity research. A 2016 study in Cell Metabolism found that animals fed a 10.1 carb-to-protein ratio lived the longest. Not the high-protein group, not the balanced group, the group that ate 10 times more carbs than protein. Why? Because protein activates a cellular pathway called mTOR, mechanistic target of rapamycin. mTOR tells your cells to grow. That's good when you're young. That's bad when you're old. High mTOR activity accelerates aging. It increases oxidative stress. It reduces autophagy. Autophagy is your cells cleaning out damaged parts. You need that process to stay healthy after 60. Low protein doesn't mean no protein. 39g is enough to preserve muscle if you're moving. The key phrase is if you're moving. Protein alone doesn't build muscle. Movement builds muscle. Protein supplies the raw material. If you're sitting all day eating 150 grams of protein, just activates mTOR without giving you the muscle benefit. Here's the other part. Okinawans have a genetic advantage, a gene called FOXO3. The GG variant of this gene shows up 2.7 times more often in Okinawan centenarians than in the general population. That variant improves insulin sensitivity. It reduces oxidative stress. But here's the thing. You can activate FOXO3 even if you don't have the GG variant. How? Caloric restriction, low protein intake, and movement. Genetics loads the gun. Lifestyle pulls the trigger. So that's Tier 3, the centenarian protocol, 320 to 380 grams of carbohydrates per day, 35 to 50 grams of protein, a 10.1 ratio. This tier requires medical supervision. You need to monitor your vitamin B12, your zinc, your vitamin D. The traditional Okinawan diet was low in those nutrients. They compensated with seaweed, fermented foods, and sunlight. You'll need to supplement or adjust. This tier is for people who are serious about longevity. It's not required for basic health. Tier 1 and Tier 2 will get you most of the benefits. But none of this works without the final piece. And this is the ingredient no dietitian mentions: movement. Natural, constant, low-intensity movement. Ushi doesn't just eat 382 grams of carbohydrates. She also stands up from the floor 30 times a day. She walks 2 to 3 kilometers. She squats deeply to harvest sweet potatoes. She climbs stairs. She carries water. She does this every single day. She's been doing it for 70 years. High carbohydrates without movement is a disaster. Your muscles don't use the glucose. It stays in your blood. Your pancreas keeps releasing insulin. You store fat, you gain weight, you develop insulin resistance. The carbs aren't the problem. The lack of movement is the problem. Here's the minimum viable version for a Westerner. You don't need a garden. You don't need to sit on the floor. But you do need this. 30 minutes of walking every day, not negotiable. 10 squats when you wake up. Body weight only, just to preserve leg strength. And once per day, get down on the floor and stand back up without using your hands. If you can't do that, practice until you can. That single movement is one of the strongest predictors of longevity. People who can get up from the floor without assistance at age 60 live significantly longer than people who can't. The system isn't just diet, it's diet plus movement. Okinawans never separated the two. They didn't go to the gym for an hour and then sit for 12. They moved constantly at low intensity. They walked to the market. They worked in their gardens. They carried things. Their muscles stayed insulin sensitive because they used them. If you sit all day and then try to replicate the Okinawan diet, it won't work. You'll gain weight. Your blood sugar will spike. You'll feel terrible. The carbohydrates need somewhere to go. If your muscles aren't active, they don't absorb the glucose. It has nowhere to go except your fat cells. Now let me address the objections. You're probably thinking, what about genetics? Don't Okinawans just have better genes? Siblings of centenarians do have an advantage. Women who have a sibling that lived to 100 are 2.38 times more likely to reach 90. Men are 5.43 times more likely. So yes, genetics matter. But Japanese Americans in Hawaii who maintain the traditional Okinawan diet live just as long as people in Okinawa. The ones who switch to a Western diet lose that advantage in one generation. Genetics give you a head start. Lifestyle determines where you finish. Second objection, will this work for me in the United States or the UK? I'm not living on a tropical island. It's not the island, it's the practice. The study I mentioned earlier was done in Hawaii. Japanese Americans, same latitude as Okinawa, different country, same results. You don't need the climate. You need the food and the movement. Third objection, Is this sustainable? Can I actually do this for years? Centenarians in Okinawa ate this way for 70 years. It's not a diet, it's a lifestyle. But you don't have to jump to tier 3 on day 1. Start with tier 1, 2 to 3 sweet potatoes per day. Boil them, eat them with your normal meals. Walk 30 minutes. Do that for a month, see how you feel. Then decide if you want to adjust. Let me give you a real example. Margaret, 64 years old, lives in Boston. She tried keto for 2 years. She lost 20 lbs in the first 6 months. She gained 25 lbs back over the next year and a half. She was pre-diabetic. Her HbA1c was 6.2%. She took 4 medications. She switched to tier 1 of the Okinawan protocol, 250 grams of carbs per day, boiled sweet potatoes, brown rice, 60 grams of protein, tofu and fish. 30 minutes of walking every morning. That's it. No gym, no calorie counting, no willpower. 6 months later, she lost 18 lbs. 80% of that was fat. 20% was muscle that she kept. Her HbA1c dropped to 5.4%. Out of the pre-diabetic range, she stopped taking 2 of her medications. Her doctor was confused. She told him what she was doing. He didn't believe her. He said, "You're eating how many carbs?" She said, "For the first time in 10 years, I eat without fear." That's what this system does. It removes the fear. You're not restricting. You're not counting. You're not fighting hunger. You're eating real food in the way it's been eaten for centuries by people who live longer than anyone else on the planet. Here's what you need to remember. 3 things. 1, it's not the carbohydrates, it's the caloric density. Boiled sweet potatoes, brown rice, vegetables, high volume, low calories. You eat more and weigh less. 2, it's not how much you eat, it's how you cook it. Boiling preserves resistant starch. Baking destroys it. Glycemic index of 46 versus 94. Same food, different effect. 3, carbohydrates without movement is a disaster. You need both. 30 minutes of walking is not optional. Movement isn't exercise, it's how you preserve muscle and keep your cells insulin sensitive. If you want to start tonight, here's what you do. Buy 10 sweet potatoes, any kind. Boil them for 30 minutes. Let them cool. Put them in the refrigerator. Tomorrow, replace 1 meal with 2 boiled sweet potatoes and a simple protein. Tofu, fish, tempeh. Eat until you're satisfied. Walk for 30 minutes. That's it. Don't change anything else yet. Do that for 1 week. See how you feel. See if you're still hungry between meals. See if you have more energy. See if your pants fit differently. Then decide if you want to keep going. Ushi is 97 years old. She eats 382 grams of carbohydrates every day. Her BMI is 21. Now you know why. It's not magic. It's not rare genetics. It's engineered longevity based on 50 years of research. The question is, are you going to keep cutting carbs and losing muscle? Or are you going to eat like a centenarian? Drop your age in the comments and tell me which of the 3 tiers you're going to try first. Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3? I want to know. Remember this. The Okinawans didn't discover longevity by accident. They built it 1 meal at a time, 1 walk at a time, 1 day at a time. You can do the same starting now. If this story changed how you view the food on your plate and the movement of your body, please subscribe and like the channel. We are uncovering the biological secrets that have been hidden by modern diet trends. Let's cultivate a longer, stronger future together. The next treasure of longevity will be revealed soon.